Looks like they're about to start, and there we go. Xelnas and Cronokirby, like I said, two of the best runners. They're gonna again buy that hammer, and they're gonna glitch themselves some pretty overpowered equipment. Now, I want to mention specifically Cronokirby, probably known or used to be known for having some of the fastest menus in the community, and we'll still see. Like he's kind of rusty lately. It's been a while since he last ran Final Fantasy 1. But that skill that he had back then still showing off quite well here. Xelnas seeming to have a little bit of trouble getting the menuing working and getting everything going properly. If I saw correctly, he had to do a quick formation change there, so Xelnas definitely starting to lag behind a little bit in that starting menu, and Cronokirby taking an early lead. So here we go, Cronokirby starting to move out of the castle, and he's going to go for that first boss. So he's going to head into the Chaos Shrine to kill out, and he's going to get that leather cap, get the Judgment Staffs, and going to start killing off Garland as quickly as he can. It looks like he's getting a pretty good walk so far. Xelnas now also starting his walk towards Chaos Shrine. He's going to... Cronokirby getting that first ambush there, but he had quite a lead because of his menuing, so that'll definitely give him the advantage in the early game. So it's looking like, at least for this first part, encounter-wise, both of these runners are doing pretty well. It looks like they're gonna get their equipment. They're gonna start glitching those Judgment Staffs. Basically, again, the most powerful staff in the game. We're 2 minutes in, and Cronokirby pretty much just has some of the most overpowered equipment out there. Getting him at least a little bit of damage to work with that for that first half, or at least first 25 minutes of the run, 20-25 minutes. He's gonna move on to Garland. He's gonna see if he can get that kill quick. In the meantime, Xelnas also having finished up his menuing, also gonna start moving on to Garland. He got that 4 different enemies in one encounter. Pretty rare combination to get, especially this early on in the game. Cronokirby getting a fairly quick kill there, getting a 249 on Garland. Definitely an early game here, and definitely an early lead as well for that first boss. So the way that the glitch works, in short, is basically what both of these runners did with the leather cap that you see on Xelnas just now. He's gonna go from the leather cap into the weapon slot. Basically, because he's switching character at the same frame that he's going into the helmet menu, he ends up going into the armor slot, or into the armor menu, basically, as he's going into a weapon slot. Basically, loading in the idea from that specific weapon that he had, or from the specific armor he had in the menu, being the leather cap, but then loading it in onto the onto the weapon slot, which corresponds with the idea of the Judgment Staff. So he ends up equipping the Judgment Staff instead of a leather helmet. Now, because the game sees that you can equip a Judgment Staff, you probably must therefore also have it in the menu. So it just doesn't even check whether it's in your equipment menu or not, and it just assumes that it's there, not worrying about it. So Xelnas getting a very rough start here, getting a 3-minute 50 Garland roughly. Definitely giving Chrono a very, very big early lead here. So Cronokirby, in the meantime, gonna start his path towards Provoca to get that ship, get the pirates out of the way so he can start sailing around. Now, one thing I don't think I've mentioned yet, on the cutscene that you see at Xelnas right now, I want you guys to pay attention to the guard in the bottom left. He's actually quite an interesting guard. You'll notice all of the guards working really, really hard on this bridge, but that guard just kind of stands around slowly waving, much slower than any of the other guards out there. It's a neat little neat little note on that bridge building cutscene. It's kind of weird that one NPC does, or it moves differently from all of the other ones. Cronokirby getting a pretty decent walk so far. He's going to opt to take one step down to avoid a few forest tiles. Very minor, very minor decision he makes there. The grass tiles do have a slightly lower encounter rate than the forest tiles do. But, you know, it does mean 2 extra tiles, which again means 2 additional encounter checks. It's kind of a decision he decided to make there. But judging his general path towards Provoca, it seems like he probably made the right call there. So he's gonna start his fight with the pirates, and he's gonna get that judgment staff off. He is one of the runners choosing to only do it with the 2 mages. It's a little bit more risky because the pirates can get a few hits off, which it looks like they do, and that's losing Chrono quite a bit of time. Getting like 5 attacks off before he actually ends up getting that judgment staff done. So Chrono getting a little unlucky on that fight. He didn't get the luck to work in his favor this time. But so far he does still seem to have the lead with about a 2-minute and 16-second pirate, or sorry, 6-minute and 16-second pirate. My apologies. So Cronokirby moving onto the ship. He's gonna head towards Alpine. Looks like Xelnas took a bit of a safer route on the pirates. He opted to use the judgment staff on his thief as well, and the thief outspeeding all of the pirates. He's gonna get a quick kill there. Gonna get that out of the way before he's gonna move on. Cronokirby, unfortunately, getting an encounter with Sahag and Big Eyes. Can't seem to be able to run, so he's gonna have to opt to try and kill them. So a bit unlucky there on Chrono's end. They're all going to get a hit off as well. And this might be Xelnas' chance to completely catch up again if he gets a good bit of sailing around here. So it looks like both of them have managed to dock their ship in the meantime. It's Chrono struggling a little bit with the encounters, but they're pretty much even. So that minute that Xelnas lost right at the start there has now been completely mitigated because of the RNG that Chrono is getting. Now this is kind of one of those things that Chrono in his races, he's pretty much known for getting very unlucky, and he ends to, like, what he makes up in skill, he lacks in luck for a lot of these runs. So we'll see if Chrono can keep a lead. Xelnas getting that 6 encounter ambush. That's going to lose him some time here as Chrono keeps moving forward towards the Marsh Cave. Cronokirby right now entering Marsh Cave, being the first to enter, despite them both being tied again just now. Xelnas seems to be having a pretty rough walk so far, not getting the sub-9 entry, while Chrono is pretty much just pushing through Marsh Cave, onto B3 and onto those Pisco Demons, getting a very solid walk towards Pisco Demons. Okay, he didn't end up healing earlier, so he's gonna take that heal just now, making sure that he's healed to full, or at least full enough for the Pisco Demon fight. He only gets 2 Pisco Demons, so he opts to go for an attack here. Attacking on these Pisco Demons is kinda risky because you're not completely guaranteed to get that kill, but Cronokirby taking the risk and getting away with it. His White Mage may have dropped to the 9 health, but he is in good shape right now. So in the meantime, Xelnas also starting to push through towards that crown. He's quite a bit behind on Cronokirby, but Cronokirby with that Gorgoyle encounter, hopefully this will make up for Xelnas a little bit. Looks like Xelnas didn't completely heal all of his characters here. He took a little bit of a risk, which did end up costing him a little bit because that death on the White Mage is going to make his grinding just a little bit tougher. We'll have to see if he can manage to deal with that death right there. In general, it's not all that consequential because the experience isn't too high, but it can be very, very risky right here. It's just that little bit of a time loss that someone like Xelnas definitely was not hoping to see there. So in the meantime, Xelnas getting another ambush on the way out of Marsh Cave. He is definitely getting very unlucky right now. Cronokirby getting a major shot of just taking a lead here. I do have to wonder though, his White Mage seems to be getting a lot of hits in here. It looks like at the damage that the White Mage is taking, I'd almost start saying that something about that equipment might be off. I did not notice it right away, but White Mage taking a lot more damage than what you would expect the White Mage to take. Chrono, however, in the meantime, moving on to Astos and getting and starting that fight. Xelnas getting a second encounter, be it a preemptive one at that. It's going to be a rough one for Xelnas to make up, at least for the early part of the game. There is, however, still a lot left to do. These two are not done, or are not at all done. They are far from it. As we saw, basically with the last race, there are so many places that the RNG can just completely screw over a runner. We'll have to see what's going to happen here. So Cronokirby looks like he's going to get a good kill on Astos there. Didn't get any of his characters killed, so he's got a pretty good Astos fight behind him at a 12 minutes and 30 seconds Astos. In the meantime, Xelnas also finally entering the ruined castle. He's gonna start his fight with Astos as well. At this point, I mean, that minute he caught up earlier to RNG, he's pretty much just lost all over again. It seems like Xelnas is still struggling to keep up the pace of Cronokirby right now. Let's see what kind of time he's gonna get here on Astos. He's not going to get a death, so again, he's going to not have to worry about healing a character after this fight, so at least that's going to help him save that little bit of time. Cronokirby is struggling a little bit with these wolves, opting to go for the kill there. Xelnas being a little over a minute behind at this point at Astos. Let's see what the final time is going to be. 13:35. Definitely a good... I want to say a good minute and 5 seconds behind on Cronokirby at Astos. Cronokirby getting butchered by the wolf ambushes, though. This is definitely being rough on Cronokirby because of that. Not having the thieves' armlets, running is still very, very hard, regardless of how hard you try, especially with encounters like these wolves. And it's looking like Chrono is not getting the luck today, losing a lot of time on his way towards that ship. And there is Xelnas also taking a 6-encounter ambush. Here it was his opportunity to potentially catch up a lot of the time he lost. Looks like that's going to be out of the question with that ambush right there. So Cronokirby now moving on towards getting that Jolt Tonic. Now for those that aren't too familiar, let me just point out a little bit of what's going on game-wise, at least story-wise. So basically what they need to do is, currently they need to find some way of blowing up a canal so that they can actually access the 4 crystals of light, starting with the Earth Crystal. Now, the problem is, in order to access that crystal, like the pathway is blocked. These two oceans are not in any way linked. So they're trying to get a canal so that they can get there, which would be fine because they can just get the nitro powder. And with the nitro powder, they can just blow it up. It's all done. And the nitro powder was in the starting town, so that's pretty easy. The problem is it's behind a locked door, and in order to get that, they need to get the Mystic Key from the Elven Prince, who's currently under a sleeping curse from Astos, which they can only revive him using the Joel Tonic, which they can get by giving Matoya the Mystic Eye. So quite a lot of fetch questing around here. Xelnas getting a very rough 9-encounter ambush by Sahagins, opting to go for a kill. Very, very big time loss there on Xelnas' end. Both of these runners getting butchered by the RNG today. This is not looking pretty for any of these runners. So Cronokirby in the meantime having picked up that Joel Tonic. Xelnas now also heading towards the Joel Tonic, seeing as if gonna see if he can get that. Let's see what the encounters on the way is gonna do. In the meantime, Cronokirby is gonna make his way to the Elven Castle, and once he finally manages to arrive there, stuff is gonna go a lot better, because at that point it will be a lot more easy for him to run from these encounters. Basically, as soon as he gets the Mystic Key, he's gonna pick up the Mithril Hammer, which he can glitch into the Thieves' Armlets from the weapon slot to all of the armor slots, except for the shield, basically giving him a plus 15 total on agility per character, giving him a lot more agility, meaning a lot higher a chance to run away from encounters. That's going to make his life a lot easier there. Xelnas almost getting trolled by the broom. That broom was just barely out of the way. The broom can actually get in the way there and really, really block your path and lose a lot of time there. Luckily, did not end up happening. Cronokirby, in the meantime, getting a 17-28 on the Mystic Key. So let's see what it's going to be for Xelnas. Xelnas getting even more Sahagins. It's definitely looking like something is off on that equipment, though. His White Mage, again, being very, very low on health. See if he's going to do anything about it, or if he's going to just let it be. Cronokirby, in the meantime, equipping his Thieves' Armlets, going to increase that running chance. Now, I don't think either of these runners have gone for the Gold Needles yet. I think they're both going for a late Gold Needle strat. So let's see if these two will both pick it up. Yeah, there we go. There's Cronokirby heading towards the shop to get the Gold Needles. In the meantime, Xelnas starting to get that Mystic Key. There is definitely quite the gap between the two of them. 1830, I'm going to say 1837 on that Mystic Key right there. Quite the gap between the two runners. Now, a little optimization you may have noticed on all of these runners so far, both the two earlier as well as these two, is that they all left the castle from the left, and that's because that just saves a few tiles of movement. It's very, very minor, but it is just another few steps that they can save up on. I guess this menu is also going to show, yeah, there we go, the White Mage still did not have anything on her except for the clothes. That's why he was taking so much damage there. So yeah, definitely the White Mage's equipment being wrong earlier, losing Xelnas quite a bit of time early on because of just not having defense on the White Mage. So he's gonna have to heal up his mages. Now having healed his White Mage, he should be able to pull through. I think he just equipped it like normal. Cronokirby, however, in the meantime, really pulling through, really starting to push forward, heading towards Mount Duragar, taking a very, very slight misstep there. meaning he'll have to take 2 additional encounter tiles, parking his boat in the center of the dock. It's just a very minor thing that you generally do not see from runners at the skill level of Cronokirby. So Cronokirby starting the conversation with the dwarf, starting to blow up the canal as Xelnas is picking up the Jolt Tonic. This just goes to show how big this gap has become. It's definitely a pretty big lead for Cronokirby for the early game at least, but I mean, we still have Cavern of Earth coming up very, very soon, and Cavern of Earth can make a huge difference depending on what it's going to do. So there we go, Cronokirby getting into the cutscene. Now, this little cutscene, much like the other ones, it's actually skippable on PSP, unlike any other version of the game. So Cronokirby skipping the conversation. In the meantime, Xelnas almost being at Mount Duragar so he can blow up the canal as well. So for those that missed this part in the last race, you may have noticed in the last race that all of these runners had really, really powerful swords on all of their characters. This is really one of those key aspects from the PSP run, and we're going to see that in here as well. So Cronokirby is going to enter Melmont right now, and he's going to pick up the Steel Glove, and that's what he's going to use in order to equip the Barbarian Sword, by far the most powerful sword into the game. He's going to glitch that into his weapons. Going from the glove slot of the warrior into the weapon slot of all of the other characters. Now, because only the warrior can equip the steel glove, he's gonna actually have to do a formation swap. Then he's gonna unequip one of them, equip that on the warrior, and then equip it again. Luckily, the warrior can actually equip it naturally. So at the end of the day, it doesn't matter much that he is the only one to be able to glitch it from, at least. With that, he's going to move on towards Cavern of Earth, which is probably the next major segment of RNG. He's going to have to go through it 3 times total. First all the way to B3, then back from B3 to the start, and then later on from the start all the way to B5, and that's where he's going to kill off the first actual boss, like the first major boss of the game. So Cronokirby entering here at 2340, while Xelnas still has quite a walk to go before he's going to go into Cavern of Earth. This gap is definitely seems to widen by the area. Xelnas getting somewhat unlucky here and there. It seems pretty average RNG for the most. Cronokirby definitely getting some pretty good RNG on places. That is a very solid B2 right there for Cronokirby. He's going to opt to take a window collar. Now, this is probably the trademark for Cronokirby. I just want to mention this real quick. This Cronokirby is probably the runner known for, memeing around a little bit. And this is one of the fastest places where he can change his window color into one of the set options. And he opted to go for Prismatic. Probably the only runner in the tournament you'll see do that. It's very typical of Chrono. It's really nice that they actually got to pull that out during this race. So from this point on, we'll be seeing Prismatic on Cronokirby's end. He got the 4 Pisco Demons, but other than that, his Cavern of Earth so far seems pretty good. And it looks like he's about I want to say a minute 50 to 2 minutes ahead of Xelnas right now. But getting that white gas, not being able to run away, this could actually be somewhat dangerous because that paralysis can really, really hurt a run. The warrior kind of pulling through there, not getting paralyzed just yet. The white mage and warrior getting the judgment staff off. Lost a little bit of time, but he is all right. He's going to be able to move through. But that will give Xelnas an opportunity to catch up a little bit if he gets good RNG. Another Pisco Demon encounter right here, opting to go for the Judgment Staff since he had it on several of his characters already anyway. As we mentioned before, on 3 attacks or on 3 enemies, it doesn't really matter what he's going to go for. He could go for the Judgment Staff, he could go for an attack, the time is about the same. He probably opted to go for the staff considering the menu was pretty much set up in order to do that. Xelnas getting the Cockatrice encounter, and I did not see a save from him just now. This could actually be somewhat dangerous for Xelnas. Let's see what's going to happen here. He's going to go for a second attempt at a run. He's going to take the risk. He's going to do everything he can to catch up, but that is a very, very dangerous decision right there. He does get away with it, but taking the risks at that. Xelnas definitely not going for the safe strat here. I do see something from Xelnas that I wasn't expecting. He's actually gonna tweak his color as well. Not going for the prismatic, but going for a bit of a unique color here. Pretty interesting that both of these runners are gonna go for it. That is something that you will not usually see in any race of Final Fantasy 1 PSP. He went for the minor color change there, getting a little bit more green on the top right if I saw correctly, and then a little lighter blue on the top left. Interesting stuff, getting that minor tweak from Xelnas' end. I would imagine Xelnas probably decided to do that on the fly, as he's not as experienced with switching his colors as Chrono is. So probably the reason why we see a very minor change from Xelnas, whereas Cronokirby decided to go full prismatic. Cronokirby again getting more Pisco Demons here. Definitely getting very unlucky on the encounters here. And that means that just over that Cavern of Earth, Xelnas is now taking the lead. It is quite a change, considering Xelnas was almost 2 minutes behind going in. Cronokirby losing it all to a lot of different Pisco Demons, and he gets another one! Oh, wow. So many Pisco Demons, that is very, very rare to see. This many back-to-back. That is quite a floor 3 on Cronokirby's end. That is definitely very, very devastating. Another Pisco, oh wow! This is, there are no words to describe how this is going for Cronokirby. He is getting butchered by this game right now. Cavern of Earth is not liking it. That is very, very painful for Cronokirby. Lost a lot of time just on that B3. Just the amount of unrunnables he got there is just, it's an absolute joke. You do not ever get to see that many in a run. I guess except for when Cronokirby is running. In the meantime, Xelnas already having made his way out, getting a very, very decent walk out overall. Slightly above average. Cronokirby very much struggling to get through, getting a lot of encounters, getting a lot of stuff they have to pull through. It's definitely very rough. Yeah, the Pisco Demons, for those not familiar with the game, is an unrunnable encounter, so they will have to kill it. They do not have another choice. So the more you get them, the more painful it's going to become. Cronokirby exiting the cave, and at the meantime, Xelnas already talking to the giant, giving him that ruby so he can move on to get the Earth Rod. He's gonna get the Earth Rod here, and basically what they're gonna do is they need the Earth Rod in order to move on further into Cavern of Earth because the stone slab is blocking the way. Cronokirby getting another ambush by Wargwolves around here. Definitely not a lucky run yet so far for Chrono. But yeah, they need to get that Earth Rod so that they can move on further into the dungeon, get rid of the stone slab, and actually get to the first crystal. So Xelnas getting the sub 31 at least on the Earth Rod. He's getting a pretty... It definitely shows these times that they've both gotten a pretty rough start here. Generally, for most runners, you'll want about a 30-minute Earth Rod, at least for race times like this. Getting both of them, like Xelnas getting a 30-38, Cronokirby looking like he's gonna get like a 31.5-ish. So definitely a pretty rough start for both of these. So it looks like Xelnas is almost back to the Cavern of Earth, and that means he's gonna go for his third and final walk through this dungeon. This is the dungeon we spend probably the most time in total, just because of how often we have to do it. It's not by any means the longest dungeon. There is the Chaos' Shrine, there is Sunken Shrine, which are both definitely longer, but probably the dungeon we do end up just taking the most time to get through because of how many times we have to do it. Xelnas getting an ambush there by wolves, maybe giving Cronokirby a little bit of a shot to catch up, because it is honestly pretty brutal for Cronokirby right now, being like at least a good minute 15 behind on Xelnas right now. So it looks like Xelnas is actually going to start struggling with these wolves. Wolves are one of those encounters where even if your equipment is good, they're going to be a little rough to run from. And Xelnas definitely feeling that right now. In the meantime, Cronokirby having made his way into Cavern of Earth and really starting to catch up. The difference now between Cronokirby and Xelnas being very, very minor right here. But I mean, we've seen what B3 did to Cronokirby. Oh, and he gets the 7 encounter ambush. 7 tarantulas. That's going to be a big loss for Cronokirby there. Xelnas, however, also struggling getting those gargoyles. So both of these runners struggling with one of these really, really rough encounters. And it looks like Cronokirby got away from it earlier than Xelnas does. And that's going to pull Cronokirby back into the lead. So just like that, the difference has been completely made up again. This time, Cavern of Earth was not kind to Xelnas, and they're gonna go back to even. Xelnas again opting to skip the safety save. Actually, quite a dangerous move on Xelnas' part. I mean, he is one where you would expect him to take a little bit of risk. Getting the 6 encounter cockatrices, this is a very, very dangerous decision from Xelnas, especially for the setting he's in. He gets away with it though. Cronokirby getting the cockatrices as well. He does have that safety save in the back in case stuff does end up going wrong. Looks like he doubted himself for a little bit before he started running, but then decided to run away. Oh wow, 8 encounter whites and gas for Cronokirby. This cave is not favoring any of these two runners. Both of them getting very, very tough luck on these places. Cronokirby going to opt for a kill here. He gets, he's gonna try for the Judgment Staff on the White Mage. The White Mage does actually have the least amount of chance to get hit here, with a 32 out of 255. So the chances of the White Mage being hit are a lot lower than any of the other characters, although similar to the Black Mage, but it is still it's still, you know, a very annoying spot to be in for Cronokirby. Looks like Xelnas is opting to kill the Wraiths, not being able to run earlier because of that, and getting that paralysis off. These two runners are definitely in a rough spot here. We're gonna see though what Lich is gonna do. Lich could always be a very dangerous fight. Cronokirby getting another rare 4 different enemies in one encounter combination. Pretty rare combination to see. You do not actually get to see that very often. So it's pretty interesting that we got to see it. Looks like neither of them has yet seen the rarest encounters here though, so not gonna see as many 1 in 64s as we did in the last race. Xelnas opting to heal his mages, which may actually work in his favor because the white mage may actually have the health to tank a Blazara. At 174, that chance is very, very much there. Xelnas going into the fight with Lich. See what kind of fight he's gonna get. Gets the Blazara off. He's gonna wait for the reset. His white mage tanks it, and this is very, very rare. His white mage does not usually tank that, but because of the high health, he gets a sleep though, wakes out of it, and then still manages to go for the kill. That is a Lich fight for the records. That is a Lich fight like you can never see in any of the runs. He had enough health to tank it, which is very, very rare at that point. Gets the Blazara off, which would normally kill a run. He pulls through, gets the Sleepra, falls asleep, immediately wakes up, and then still gets the kill. That is a fight for the books right there. And with that, Xelnas getting the first kill on Lich. Cronokirby's very slightly behind, but that is a Lich fight like I have never seen before. So with that, both of these runners are going to see the cutscene unlocking Earthgift Shrine, and they're going to move on towards the mid-game, where they're pretty much just going to finish up all of their little fetch questing that they need to do over the course of the run. It is quite a fight, if I may say so myself. It is true. I will point out, Nikki in chat has already mentioned this, but because of all the encounters that Xelnas and Chrono had to fight, Xelnas did end up getting enough health to be able to do that. You do not normally end up seeing that much health, and as a result, normally you would not be able to have the health to tank a hit like that. But a combination of good HP rolls and the amount he had to kill to begin with managed to get him through that. Very exciting fight right there. So with that, both of them almost entirely in sync there. It is almost as if these guys are like seconds apart at most. Cronokirby getting somewhat unlucky, getting the Sahagan Big Eye combination, having a little bit of struggle to run from it, but he's going to move on towards Crescent Lake as well. Seems like Chrono was struggling there a little bit on with his emulator. His movement went slowed down for some reason there, but bit of a weird glitch happening on Chrono's end, I suppose. Xelnas being the first to dock his ship, gonna get that poison, but he has plenty of antidotes left. He's gonna move on towards Crescent Lake here. Chrono getting another Sahagan Big Eye combination, getting very unlucky today on the encounters that he's getting. He's gonna opt to try and run for a second time. Does not seem very successful yet, but his white mage finally manages to get the run. All of those encounters may have kind of lost him his position on the map, because of which he went slightly too low there, but he finally docked his ship and is now also on the way to Crescent Lake. So we see Xelnas over here getting those black garbs set up just to increase his running chances later on. We see him go for the triple black garb strat, which is actually not very common for races like this. Most runners will opt to go for the black garb on 2 people just because it's faster menuing and it saves the formation change later on. Xelna's going for that triple to add to the safety a little bit there. So he gets the canoe out of the way, and with that, he's gonna move on to Cavern of Ice. Now, at this point, I want to mention, for those that missed the race earlier, these 2 racers, they're kind of gonna sequence break. It's not really a sequence break, but they're gonna do things out of order here. Basically, the game expects you to move on to the fire dungeon, get the second crystal out of the way. The thing is, it's kind of slow to do that because it's a lot of sailing towards it using the canoe. So instead, what we're going to do is they're going to get the levy stone in the Cavern of Ice just so that they can get that airship, because with the airship, they can just park right in front of Mount Gold, not needing to worry about all the additional movement and encounters. So before anything else, we're going to see them move on towards Cavern of Ice. However, Cavern of Ice, because of the fact that, you know, we kind of sequence break here, it's still kind of a sequence break. We're gonna see quite a difficulty spike here in terms of how difficult these encounters are going to be. They're going to be quite a bit tougher than they were before, but we'll see what they're going to get. So just to give you guys a bit of an idea of what can happen in Cavern of Ice, there's the 1 in 64 White Dragons, which can just instantly kill a party. We have the 3 in 64 Dark Wizards, which, assuming they're not preemptive, can instantly kill a party. We have a Winter Wolves, which can just kill your party if you get unlucky. It's fairly rare, but it can happen. We have the Mind Flyers, which can paralyze your entire party in one go, as well as kill a party member upon hit. We've got Undeads, which can paralyze you. Pisco Demons that can slow you down. Cockatrices that can petrify you. The Ice Gigases, which are unrunnable. There is just so much stuff in Cavern of Ice that can just slow you down. So here we go, Cronokirby running into Cavern of Ice without saving. That is actually quite a risk Cronokirby is taking there. Going into Cavern of Ice without the safety save right at the start. You'll almost always see runners save at the start of Cavern of Ice just because of how dangerous it is. If not several points throughout Cavern of Ice. So Cronokirby taking quite the risk there. So yeah, Cronokirby opting to kill some Wraiths and Spectres there. In the meantime, we see Xelnas getting up to the Evil Eye for the first time. And Evil Eye is probably one of those things, you know, he's gonna want to get the Thundara, which he gets very, very quickly there. He got the Thundara, gets the Warrior and the Thief kill off just so that they do not get any experience, because they're gonna have to grind a little bit. And I just noticed that Xelnas actually managed to gold his split there. That is a gold Cavern of Ice Part 1 for Xelnas right now. So really, really good start for Xelnas. Really good early part of Cavern of Ice. We're going to see what's going to happen. He will have to take into account that his experience is kind of off because of that death at the start. We'll see what's going to happen throughout this grinding. So, looks like Cronokirby got the very rare Ice Gigas Winter Wolf combination. Now, Cronokirby making a small mistake here in the fact that the White Mage is actually, like, normally the White Mage would be enough to kill when you get to the Cavern of, or when you get to Chaos' Shrine. But at this point in the run, because she does not have the Lordly Robes, not getting the kill completely there with that White Mage. Does look like Cronokirby's emulator seems to be acting up a little bit. I've seen him slow down a few times for seemingly no reason, so hopefully he'll be able to keep pulling through and that it won't hinder him too much over the course of a run. So it looks like Cronokirby got his Black Mage killed off as well. That's going to make it a little bit harder for the grind for him. See what's going to happen. Xelnas still not taking that safety save. What the hell is Xelnas doing right now? Not even getting both of their characters back to full health. He is going to go for a Judgment Staff, but taking a massive risk in going with this encounter only with 2 characters and without that safety save. Seeing very, very big risks here from Xelnas' side. It is keeping him in the lead for now, but he really needs to watch out with the stuff that he's doing, because this may or may not kill the run if he's not careful right now. Ooh, Xelnas trying to run from 7 Pisco Demons. Oh wow, what is going on right now? That is a painful mistake right there, because not only is he going to get the failed animation 4 times, he's also going to get the 7 attacks, and he will still have to go for the kill on them. Cronokirby, interestingly enough, only attacking with the White Mage. Now, it is generally faster to attack with one character, but it is an interesting choice that he went with the White Mage, as the White Mage is slightly slower than the Black Mage, giving Evil Eye a slightly higher chance to outspeed him. Chances are still fairly low, but it is a bit of a risk he's taking with that. Keeping a good eye on his levels right now, making sure that he gets the levels he needs before he's going to move on. So he's going to start healing up his characters, and then now for Cronokirby as well. It's time to move on, time to get out of this place. It's looking like it's about a 2-minute gap again between Xelnas and Cronokirby, this time in favor of Xelnas, who is taking quite the lead here. Kind of been back and forth throughout the race. It's Cronokirby having gotten a lot of unlucky spots, especially in that Cavern of Earth, and now again in Cavern of Ice. So here we see Cronokirby struggling with the encounter, opting to go for the reset. This is why that safety save before that Spike Tail can be so helpful right there. Getting those Spectres there, though. Spectres being a rough encounter regardless of how you look at it. Definitely not what Cronokirby is hoping for. He's gonna have to hope for a swift Citadel and a very, very quick Sunken Shrine right there, because he is gonna need to pull back in those dungeons. That is where this is, if Xelnas can keep his lead over the course of the next few dungeons, Xelnas is going to be in a very, very good position for the late game of the run. So, again, now that we have the airship, like I mentioned before, we could just now go for the Fire Crystal. However, it is slightly faster to do some of the side questing right now, get that out of the way, make sure that, you know, it's pretty much just over with. And then we'll go for the crystals all back-to-back later. So, instead of going for Mount Gold, instead, both of these runners, they're going to go for the Citadel first. The main reason to do them in this order, you could technically pretty much do them the other way around. It would only lose a few seconds in terms of movement. It's practically the same. However, the main difference is that having Hilara, which we're going to pick up after the class change, for this next dungeon just makes the dungeon itself a lot easier. It just makes healing in there a lot faster. You won't run out of potions as quickly. It means a lot less menuing, so it's just generally a lot easier to just do Citadel, get that out of the way. So Xelnas with that entering the Citadel of Trials, and I mean he kind of mentioned it earlier during the last race. He's gonna take the lower teleporter. He's gonna get the 1 in 64 dragon zombie on the second floor. It's very rare to see that on this floor. It's very rare to see the encounter in general, but especially on this floor. Getting that 1 in 64. Did not get the Mega Elixir drop, which he probably was hoping for if he gets that. So those Dragon Zombies, they have a very, very small chance of dropping a Mega Elixir, which is just a massive heal and a massive safety for the late part of the run. Getting a Mega Elixir can just save your life in the late game. So getting that out of the way would have been really nice, but he does not get it. He may have a second shot at it, though, when he gets to the spike tile with the Dragon Zombies. Cronokirby getting a Sandworm, first runner today that we see actually opting to kill the Sandworm, taking the safety there. Not going to risk anything with that Earthquake, especially with the luck that Chrono's had so far. Seems like a smart choice right there. Xelnas getting to the Nightmares, going to opt to kill them. Nightmares at this point being a very hard to run from encounter. We'll run from them later on when we have a little bit more agility. But at this point, it's just best to just go for the safe strat, just kill them off, not worry about it at all. So Xelna's doing just that, getting through those Nightmares and gonna move onwards to the Dragon Zombie. So Xelna's picking up the Gauntlet, pretty much just giving him that golden staff for later on, as well as the option to use Thundara on the Ice Giga's Winter Wolf near the end. There he goes, the spike tile with the Dragon Zombie. Let's see if he gets the Mega Elixir. He does not, and with that, he's out of the Citadel of Trials, and he's going to move on towards the Fire Dungeon. Now, before he's going to go towards the actual Fire Dungeon, before he's going to actually go through it, he's going to make a few quick stops. First off, to get the to get the class upgrade, which you get as a result of getting the Rat's Tail, and then on top of that, to get some spells later on in the game. Or that we'll use later on in the game, specifically Teleport, Hilara, and Haste. Haste basically only being used in 2 fights later on, but very well being worth the 15 to 20 seconds it takes to pick it up. Hilara being our main healing spell for the final boss, as well as helping with healing in the next dungeon, as well as some other places. And then Teleport, which is going to save quite a bit of time over some of the next dungeons, allowing us to skip a total of 3 floors worth of movement, saving about 2 to 3 minutes, if not more. I believe it's about 2 minutes or like a minute and a half to 2 minutes in Sunken, and then at least a minute and a half to 2 minutes on the waterfall. Really, really depending on your RNG. You see Cronokirby right there getting hit with a physical hit by those Mind Flyers. That just goes to show how dangerous those encounters are. Being able to completely kill a character on hit. Going to pick up that Gauntlet, and he's going to move on towards the exit of the Citadel of Trials. And this is going to give us an idea how we're looking time-wise. Looks like Chrono is quite a bit behind by about 2 minutes and 5 seconds. So he gets into the Dragon Zombie. Maybe he gets the 777 damage roll. Nice. Let's see if that will give him some luck, which he desperately needs right now. Does not get the Mega Elixir either. And with that, he's also going to have to move on to the next dungeon, which is going to give him the Fire Crystal. I mean, at this point in the run, we're about 2/3 into the game. We still yet only have one crystal, though. So at this point, this is where these runners, they're going to have to start looking for those remaining crystals if they want to beat the game fast. Because, I mean, with an hour done and only a quarter of the crystals down, it's not going quite quickly. But from here on, we've pretty much got everything that needs to be done out of the way. And they can just go for the crystals very, very quickly. Looks like Xelnas is not picking up haste yet. Quite an interesting choice from Xelnas there. It's not technically required to get haste yet, but it would have been slightly faster for him to do it here. Probably opting to go for a little bit of different overworld movement and get that later on. The main spells, however, being Hilara and haste. Those are, or Hilara and teleport. Those are the big time saves right now. So you'll notice Xelnas walking on all of the lava tiles just to skip as many encounters as he can. Again, lava tiles do not actually spawn any encounters, so the more lava tiles, the fewer chance of an encounter, the better position that he will be in. Interestingly enough, he has not yet healed, again quite risky, because Blaze can be pretty deadly at this point. Xelnas pretty much going all out on the risks today. He is intending to go all out against Cronokirby, taking another really, really dangerous strat right now, because an ambush from Hellhounds can just easily wipe his party, and that would lose him an hour on this run. 11 health left on the White Mage, and now he's finally going to take the heal here, so he can finally move on to the boss. Very dangerous strat there from Xelnas, but again, he is getting away with it. He is YOLOing this run like crazy. He is opting to just take every possible risk. Knowing Xelnas, he's probably just you know, trying to use every minor little time save he can get to take that lead on Chrono, because he knows what he's up against. He knows how good Chrono is. And I'm presuming, considering how he plays, he probably does not know how unlucky Chrono has been getting this run. But it is quite an interesting choice from Xelnas right there. So it looks like Xelnas is dropping some frames. So hopefully we'll get him back up in just a second. We should be fine on this, to be honest. In the meantime, Cronokirby also finally making it into the fire dungeon. Knowing Cronokirby, he's going to play it a little bit safer on this dungeon than Xelnas does. So Cronokirby going quite far into the dungeon without healing as well. It looks like he's also gonna take a little bit of a risk here. Now the big difference though is if Chrono does happen to get so unlucky to get ambushed at any point and get hit that much, he does have a few safety saves over the course of his run. So there we go, Cronokirby also going through the entire dungeon without actually healing. Both of these runners taking quite a few risks to get the better of each other. And here we go, Cronokirby starting the fight with Merilith. Getting a pretty decent hit off on the first hit, barely killing because of that crit with the White Mage. Not being too far off of not having killed on on two hits there. He only went like 50 damage over what the character had, and he had the crit on the white mage there, but it was enough to get the kill. And with that, Chrono pretty much gets a 1 hour flat Merilith, and that puts him it's about 2 minutes 10 ahead time-wise. However, Xelnas does still need to get the haste at some point, so probably effectively about 1:50 behind. So Xelnas here getting the Oxyel, that's going to allow him to get into the Sunken Shrine. He's gonna use Teleport to get out of here. Now, the reason these runners are going to opt to use Teleport in the dungeon, it's actually about as fast as just manually walking out. However, because of using Teleport there instead, the cursor is already set to it, and that will make menuing a little bit faster later on. So because of that, the time it takes for the actual menuing kind of gets negated, and as a result, the entire thing tends to be a little bit faster. Chrono getting very unlucky here, getting a rare Hellhound Ogre Mage unrunnable encounter. That is a very rare unrunnable to see around this area. Mostly just because of how short you have to go through this area to begin with. I want to say you get it like once every maybe 10, 15 runs, if not less, and Chrono just getting that and struggling to get that kill right there. So just another show that Cronokirby today is getting really, really unlucky today. It's not much you can do about it, to be honest. Him barely having the money to get the Giant Sonics because, or to get the fairy because he never actually sold his Knight's armors. Looks like he's a little confused on his menuing right now, not seeming to notice that he has yet to sell his Knight's armors. Cronokirby, what is going on, my friend? So he's gonna opt to sell his Phoenix Downs. I don't think he's noticed that his Knight's armors are right there in his menu, and that's why he is so short on money. So normally you sell the Knight's armors as you get gold needles, especially if you do late gold needle strats like Cronokirby does. He gets another Hellhound in this area, which is actually unrunnable because it is a Hellhound Ogre Mage combination, just without the actual Ogre Mage. Cronokirby not realizing that right now. Cronokirby actually making quite some major decision mistakes here. So normally the Hellhound on their own are a runnable encounter. I do want to emphasize that. The thing just being that because of the location that they're in, they are not runnable here. Cronokirby, after 3 turns of trying to run, not being able to run from that. So quite a few decision mistakes here from Cronokirby, and that's going to give Xelnas quite the lead right there. Granted, to see 2 of those encounters in the same area, very, very rare to happen. But at this point, it definitely looks like Xelnas has a great lead on Cronokirby. 103-28 on getting the Rosetta Stone for Xelnas. So as Xelnas is progressing through the Sunken Shrine, it's definitely starting to look like, you know, even though Cronokirby is one of the best runners in the world, he's currently number 2 on the leaderboards, held the world, or number 3 on the leaderboards, probably held the record for, like, I want to say at least like half a year almost. So, like, a lot, like, this runner is very high in skill, but it definitely looks like the rust is starting to get to him for the late part. And it looks like Xelnas may, because of that, have the option to beat Cronokirby right here in this first match. So yeah, Cronokirby now finally being able to enter the Sunken Shrine as well. Starting his endeavor through the shrine, but because he still has to get the Rosetta Stone, he still has to get to the floor where how do you say? Where that light axe is, where Xelnas currently is at. He is, like, Chrono is quite a bit behind. Cronokirby getting the Sahagan Prince in Chief right there. Now, I may not have mentioned it during or on Xelnas' end yet, because I was kind of focusing on Chrono there. Xelnas, by the way, making quite a movement error there. But this dungeon, the Sunken Shrine, probably has more unrunnables than any other dungeon, like pretty much any other dungeon in the game. It's got the water elementals, it's got the Sahagan Prince in Chief, the ghosts, all unrunnable encounters. Really something these runners will have to watch for as they go through this dungeon. So Cronokirby still struggling in order to get to that Rosetta Stone. He is getting butchered by all of these encounters, and Chrono is definitely not in luck today. Okay, Cronokirby finally having made it to the 5th floor so that he can finally get the Rosetta Stone. But at this point, the gap has widened quite a bit. Cronokirby now being almost 4 minutes behind Xelnas. Definitely that combination of, you know, minor mistakes from Chrono's end, some poor decision making, combined with just the really bad luck that he got, just pushing Xelnas into the lead. Now, not to say that this is over yet, because we still have quite a few rough areas to go. Xelnas equipping a Lordly Robes on the White Mage's armor, meaning a pretty big menuing mistake there. The reason you do not want to have Lordly Robes on the armor for this run is because it gives a regen, which is generally good, at least for casual play, but the regen animation is quite slow. So you'll notice that a lot of these runners, you know, they will just try not to go for that because it just slows you down way too much. On every ambush, you're going to see a regen animation. Every boss that takes longer than a single turn, you're going to get that regen. If you can't run for a full turn, you're going to get regen. It just adds up to about a minute at a time loss over the course of a full run. So Xelnas now killing the Kraken, and with that, getting 3 of the bosses out of the way. Only 1 of the crystals left to go for Xelnas. Now, I will say, before Xelnas can actually go for this last crystal, he'll have to do a few more things first. He's going to have to get the Warp Cube in Waterfall Cave. He's going to get the Chime from Lufenians, for which he has to first learn Lufenian, and then go to Lufenia. And then from there, he can go through the Mirage Tower to get into the Flying Fortress so he can get that final crystal out of the way. Cronokirby still struggling quite a bit with all of these encounters, getting a few ambushes, getting quite a lot of unrunnables. Xelnas definitely taking that mention in chat into account here. So he's gonna do some extra. So yeah, here's Chrono getting that extra, or getting his glitching out of the way. Pretty smooth menu from the looks of it. And he's now also going to move on to the Kraken. Let's see what's going to happen. He gets the Ghost, meaning another unrunnable Cronokirby is going to have to kill here as Xelnas moves on to the Waterfall cave. I will say, like, Xelnas now being in Waterfall, he's pretty much got most of the deadly parts out of the way. Waterfall has a few things that can hurt you, specifically the 1 in 64 Green Dragon. I believe it's a 3 in 64, the Pyralisks, and then the spiked tile near the end of this cave. So as Xelnas is making his way through, Chrono is still struggling to get through that sunken shrine. It's looking like he's getting a very rough shrine so far. Cronokirby making some minor movement mistakes here as well. It's definitely it's definitely starting to show the rust right now. But regardless of all of that, he's gonna move on towards the Kraken. He's going to get that out of the way so that he can move on towards the final crystal as well. So Zelda is now finally getting towards the end of the Waterfall Cave. Considering the option to just kill the encounter, opting out of that, getting the Warp Cube and the ribbon out of the way. And he's gonna do his next bit of glitching. He's gonna glitch his ribbon into a weapon, which is gonna be the Gigant Axe. And as a result, he's going to re-equip the Gigant Axe back into ribbons on the shield slots of each of these characters. Now, the ribbon is one of the few items in the game that does not heartlock the game if it's equipped on the shield slot, because it does correspond with an existing animation. So, with that, he will not have to worry about his, he will not have to sack any of his equipment slots, not have to worry about any of that stuff. He's gonna get that ribbon out of the way, and he's gonna move on. Now, the ribbon is a really, really important item here, mostly because of that 50% resistance to all elemental magic. Really, really powerful item, really, really useful over the course of a run. Cronokirby getting another unrunnable. Xelnas also getting the unrunnable with the Hellhound Ogre Mage. My god, the unrunnables today. So both making the mistake of, or both getting unlucky on the unrunnable. Xelnas making the mistake of trying to run there, but Xelnas still being very far into the lead, having the Warp Cube out of the way. He's going to move on to learn Lufenian, and then finally move on towards, slowly but steadily, getting that last of the crystals. So Xelnas now having learned Lufenian, Cronokirby opting to kill Nightmares. Now, the idea of killing Nightmares in this dungeon is actually one you will not see much anymore these days. It stems basically from the very old route, back when we still didn't do class change. Back then we also didn't pick up the survival vests, and there was always a risk that as you were going along, those nightmares that you would encounter, they would just be a pain to run from, that you would struggle so much because of not having survival vests. And because of that, we just always opted to kill off the nightmares, and Chrono, being one of the older runners of this game, probably one of the oldest runners, it still actively speedruns it, or at least somewhat actively so, is definitely one of the people that, you know, he will go for the kills still, mostly just as a knowledge of what could happen because of what happened back then. But with that, Chrono also getting out of Waterfall, still a pretty big gap between these runners. So let's see if Chrono can catch up very slightly, and maybe still get a shot over the course of these final few dungeons. These next few areas, both in getting the chime and in getting up to the Flying Fortress, they are something that can lose you a lot of time if you're not careful. So definitely something we'll have to watch out for. Cronokirby now heading towards Melmond to learn Lithuanian, and since this is Chrono, I should probably mention, like, this is a little part for getting to learn this language is something that most runners will probably have done it at some point in their careers, at least if they've been speedrunning this long enough. The reason I'm mentioning it specifically here is because during the very first Final Fantasy Relay, which was like about a year and a half ago, I want to say, that was about the time that I started learning this game as well. And Cronokirby, he ran during the first Final Fantasy Relay, and he actually forgot to learn the language here. It loses about 5 minutes to forget that. So it is a very, very painful mistake if you make it. It really depends on what kind of encounters you're going to get. It can be anywhere between 3 and 6 to 7 minutes, I want to say. But he is that one runner that happened to forget it back then, and it is probably a mistake Cronokirby will never make again because of that. So as Chrono is heading down towards Lithuania, we almost see Xelnas back up here. Let's see if they're going to get that first natural 1 in 64. I don't think we've seen any of the natural 1 in 64s yet today. Looks like he is going to get away with it without getting it. He's always at the ship. Basically, there is, in this area, and it really doesn't matter for the any percent category, but there's this one encounter. It's basically a green Allosaurus, the Tyrannosaurus, and it's a 1 in 64 encounter that you can only encounter in that specific area. So it's one of the hardest encounters to find in the full bestiary run. So yeah, Cronokirby getting the chime out of the way, and now also going to move on towards the Mirage Tower. So Cronokirby getting a few unrunnables here, which is at this point only giving Xelnas more and more time to push forward towards the end. And another unrunnable. In the meantime, Xelnas getting the Blue Dragon out of the way. So with that, Xelnas being in the Flying Fortress, pretty much starting his final stretch, getting the last crystal here, and then onto the final dungeon. So Xelnas is about to hit the 5th floor, and Warmech was already mentioned before. There is a 1 in 64 encounter on this next floor, the Warmech. It is the highest experience and money yielding encounter in the game, giving 32k experience and gold, which effectively ends up being like 8,000 experience a character. So it's a massive difference if you get it. It's really hyped to get it. It's very, very rare. You get to see it like once every, on average, I want to say 32 runs. We have yet to see any in any of the tournament matches. So let's see if Xelnas will be the first today to get it. So we get to see some fire hydras with the blaze. Shouldn't be a problem. It's going to be a bit of a time loss though. So it looks like Xelnas is not going to get the Warmech, at least not before Tiamat. He's going to heal up again, going to make sure that he's fully healed for this next boss fight, and he's going to move on to Tiamat, which is the last, which will unlock the last of the crystals. So Cronokirby, he is starting to catch up a little bit with a gap of about 2.5 minutes here, but there is still a huge gap at this point, and Cronokirby is gonna have to work hard if he's gonna try to make up that difference in the final in the final area, basically. His Mirage was definitely good enough that he was able to catch up a little bit, but whether or not it'll be enough, we'll see soon enough. Making a bit of a movement error there, going down instead of left. So he's going to go left here. He's going to teleport onto the 4th floor, and as soon as he hits the 5th floor, who knows, maybe Cronokirby will be the first to get that Warmech. We still have Xelnas' walk out. There's still a very, very small chance. It can still happen. Let's see if we can get a Warmech out of the way here. So Cronokirby getting a bit unlucky with these air elementals. Xelnas as well getting that encounter on the way out here. Definitely been a rough walk for both of these runners. Cronokirby almost at the 5th floor though, so we are almost gonna see if he is going to be the one to get that Warmech encounter today. Xelnas not getting the Warmech, and that makes, I believe, 7 runners in the tournament. 7 runs, none of which have yet seen a Warmech. So here comes Chrono onto the 5th floor. Let's see if we can get a Warmech out of the way today. See what we're going to happen. Looks like he is not going to get the Warmech before Tiamat either. He's going to start fighting Tiamat and go get that last crystal. So Xelnas now with the 4 crystals, he's going to move back to the very, very first dungeon he entered, Chaos' Shrine. And he's going to use the first crystals to unlock this time portal. He's going to travel back 2,000 years into the past, where he's going to fight Chaos another time. Or basically Garland another time, but now in the form of Chaos. So Xelnas so far getting a pretty good walk through Chaos' Shrine. He's gonna get into the Death Eye fight, and it's looking like he's actually gonna get a really good start here. So that's Death Eye out of the way. Very, very decent Death Eye there. And with that, Cronokirby also now entering Chaos' Shrine. He's got a lot of catching up to do if he still want to have a shot here. But he is definitely starting to catch up a little bit here. Like, the 4-minute gap we had before is very slowly starting to close up a bit, but Cronokirby is still going to have to play his very, very best if he even wants to have a shot right now. Xelnas getting the Ice Giga's Winter Wolf, opting to go for the Gauntlet strat, it looks like. Very, very uncommon strat to see. Playing it a little different from most in that he ended up going with the gauntlets on the White Mage. Normally for the gauntlet strat, what you'll do is you'll use the gauntlet using the Black Mage, because the White Mage generally tends to be too slow. Black Mage having a lot of extra agility, but pulling off the gauntlet strat nonetheless, and he's going to move on through the dungeon. Cronokirby getting some green dragons, whereas Xelna is going to get some dragon zombies. Both of them getting unrunnable after unrunnable here. It's definitely not working in anyone's favor right now. Cronokirby all healed up. Now we have to move on towards Death Eye, but getting blocked by 4 green dragons. That is going to be quite a time loss for Cronokirby around here. Green dragons not actually ending up dying towards to the Judgment Staff, as they need the Judgment Staff from the White Mage in order to actually manage to get the kill. White Mage here, by the way, doing slightly more damage because of the fact that she has those 2 Lordly Robes, which boost her intelligence by 20 apiece. And another encounter with green dragons. Yeah, Cronokirby is losing a lot of time on this Death Eye compared to Xelnas. Xelnas, in the meantime, doing the very first of the 4 refights that need to be done here, getting a 128-14 Lich time. Basically, Cronokirby losing about a minute on the Death Eye segment right there compared to Xelnas. Definitely not working in the favor of Cronokirby, and I believe that unless Xelnas dies, this game is his. So Merilith on Xelnas' end, getting the Faraga off, not being too big a deal for Xelnas. He's not going to care for Faraga. It loses a few seconds, but at the end of the day, he's going to be fine here. So Merilith down, and that's 2 of the refights done for Xelnas, and Cronokirby now heading towards his very first one. With no encounter to Merilith, very, very good Merilith 2 floor there. So definitely getting the shot. Xelnas getting a really long stretch with no encounters if you include that huge stretch in the Kraken 2 floor as well. Oh wow, Cronokirby getting that 3 White Dragon ambush. Chrono definitely struggling to get through Chaos' Shrine here. Chaos' Shrine is not being kind to him today. So here comes the Kraken fight for Xelnas. Gonna get Kraken out of the way real quick. Not getting the 1 turn on Kraken 2 though, going for that 2 turn. Should be dead on this very first hit. Let's go. So with that, Xelnas now moving on to the... Oh, and Xelnas now finally realizing he has not ever actually bought haste. That is gonna hurt Xelnas massively during Chaos. Remember that I mentioned that he did not yet buy haste, and he'd have to do it later. He did actually not buy that haste spell, and that is gonna really hurt him during the Chaos fight here. Xelnas forgot to buy haste. That is going to lose him a lot of time. I do not think it'll be enough for Cronokirby to catch up. Because of that, getting the 3 turn on Tiamat, and now going to move on towards the next, towards Lich, or towards Chaos. Cronokirby starting the fight with Lich, not taking the heal, taking a massive risk there, because if Lich had flared, he would have been dead. He would have party wiped there, and it would have been over. But Cronokirby taking every single risk in his power to try and pull back here. It is gonna be quite the fight. So Cronokirby getting unlucky, getting some fire elementals here. Xelnas getting ready to start the Chaos fight. And with that, it is pretty much over for Chrono. However, we should keep in mind, Xelnas does not have haste, and that makes his next fight a lot longer. So here we go. Looks like Xelnas making a mistake there in his menuing. It's gonna be quite interesting. We might potentially be looking at a death on one of the characters at this rate. There definitely is. Black Mage is not in a good spot right now. See if he's gonna salvage it. Oh, and there is that death on the Black Mage. This is going to be a very, very rough fight for Xelnas at this rate. He's going to have to try and pull back, and in the meantime, Cronokirby moving on towards the end there. Getting to the Cyclone there, that may actually kill off the Black Mage again. Getting that death a second time. He's gotten through the most dangerous spells, but he is not in a good position right now. Cronokirby definitely making use of his opportunities to catch up a little bit. It is going to be interesting to see if Xelnas can pull back from this dreadful fight right now. Getting the Earthquake, probably something he was looking for, because Earthquake does not actually hit because of the ribbons. Looks like he's starting to pull back a little bit. The thing he's going to have to worry about, though, is if Chaos gets the Tsunami, or if he gets the Kyuraja off, that may actually give Cronokirby a chance because of Chrono having haste here. It's going to be interesting to see if either of them is going to make it through here. So Xelnas still struggling with that fight as Cronokirby is now finishing off his Chaos fight. So let's see what's going to happen. Getting another Tsunami right there. It's still very much anyone's game, although Xelnas still has that lead unless Chaos gets that Kyuraja, which I don't think he's done yet. So let's see if Chrono can get that win out there. There we go, Cronokirby now starting his fight with Chaos as well. And there is the closing hit for Xelnas. Xelnas barely clutching to win that race. That was a very, very, very rough fight. But Xelnas pulling through Chaos, winning the race with a 137. I'm going to check the bot real quick. I believe a 137.14. Yeah, 137.14 for Xelnas. So let's see how Chrono is going to do over the course of this fight. So both of the characters clutching it with the health there with 18 and 2 HP left. Very, very close match there from on Chrono's end. Very, very close. Let's see what's going to happen on the rest of that fight. Let's see if he has the health. He goes for the Cyclone. That will probably end up killing both his Ninja and Black Mage. Looks like another really, really bad fight on Chaos this race. Both of these runners getting probably some of the worst possible outcomes right now. And there we go. There is Chaos for Cronokirby, ending the time in a 1:39.34 because of a late split on the stream bot. But good job to both of the runners. As we get set up for the next one, I'm going to see if I can get some of these runners in there. So I'm gonna join Xelnas real quick as we set up the next two races, because we still have two races left. Hello, Xelnas.
Hey. Okay. So
Xelnas, how are you doing?
Stressed.
What? Okay. Let me just ask. How was the run? Like, first and foremost.
So like, I've been doing like 4 or 5 different Final Fantasy speedruns recently, which is why like some of my menuing, especially early on, looked really weird.
Like,
just like trying to think of everything. But so like, I can't believe I forgot a spell.
Yeah, I was actually pointing it out to the chat that you forgot the haste spell. and I figured you were just going to pick it up later. What went through you as you saw that you didn't have it on Tiamat right there?
I basically was just thinking, okay, so how do I get through this? I know it's possible, but what is the outcome that I want from this? And so I saw some people like discussing whether or not I should have Phoenix down Black Mage. I didn't need his damage, I didn't need spells from him, but I needed him as an ether bot because I knew I'd run out of MP otherwise, and I'd rather have him alive. I think it was the better option because best case scenario he didn't die 3 or 4 times. Worst case scenario he did, which is what happened. But you mentioned like bad luck on that fight. In my situation, I wanted him on the skill cycle because I didn't want him to Karaja and I did not want him to haste. So the best case scenario for me was him to stay on a skill cycle for that entire fight. Even though it dealt more damage, all I needed was to get to the Earthquake spot where I could full heal my party, which is what I did. And that was based on my thought process. I need to get to the Earthquake part of the skill cycle, and I need him to go back on the skill cycle to win the fight. If he Karaja'd, I don't think I could win because he would have killed me with haste, I think. Okay. That was basically my thought process, is I need all 4 party members alive so that I have as many options as I can for the entire fight.
Yeah, you seem to, like, right at the end there, like, as hard as that fight was, because you seem to have a really rough fight there, but as hard as it was, you did seem to get, you didn't get the Kiraja, you didn't get the haste, so, you know, at least you got through the fight despite not having haste, so, yeah. Good job.
Otherwise, I thought that was an okay run, like, obviously my menus could be cleaned up and such, and that was, like, I don't know... I thought that there's a point in that run where I thought I forgot to put Knight's Armor on White Mage, because I think White Mage died 3 times before Astos. And that was like, I was confused as to why that was happening. It must have just been like really bad encounters. So.
Yeah. So, Cronokirby, I'm going to move on to you real quick, because, I mean, you had quite a run right now.
I don't think there's a single good dungeon after Mystic Key.
Yeah, you seem to have like the roughest of runs that you've had in a very long time.
I must have lost like 5 minutes in Earth Cavern.
Yeah. So a few points in the race that stood out for me. Like you already mentioned Earth Cavern, especially that vampire part of it. You just like B3 was just absolutely ridiculous. What was going through you as you went through that floor as that was happening at that point?
I was like, oh well, it's just like last year. Last year I had like pretty bad luck in races, so I'm not too surprised. That's just how it goes for me.
So I mean, you saw at the end there as well that you probably noticed in chat that Xelnas did not have haste.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I was kind of hoping he would die. So. It's a bit mean, but yeah. But then again, I knew he had like such a lead because I had a pretty bad Chaos Shrine as well.
Yeah, you had especially the early part of Chaos Shrine seemed very rough, and but at the point that you saw that he didn't have haste, I mean, you knew exactly where he was at that point because you
but I was at like Maryland, so
yeah. Did you at that point still have any thoughts of, hey, this may actually turn around right now, or
possibly? Like my heart leapt a bit because I was like, well, if he dies, then I could take it if I get good luck. And then I got into a fire elemental fight.
Yeah, that is that 3 and 64 fire elemental there. That did not help your chances. So, I mean, first and foremost, good job, both of the runners. You guys had quite a rough run on both ends, from what I've seen. Fiesel, I'm gonna quickly ask you, how are we doing on setting up the next 2 races? 4 minutes. Okay, perfect.
And that's Box and Cabetha, right?
Come again?
And that's Box and Cabetha, right? Or
yeah, we've got 2 more races coming up for you guys tonight.
Oh, wow.
We have Boxmeister, probably like, I mean, he's a personal friend of mine. I've known him, I've met him quite a few times, and he's a very new runner, and I've called him out as the underdog of this tournament, so I've got high hopes for this guy. Kibitha, I have yet to see her run, so I'm really curious what she's going to show. We've got 2 very, very notable runners here. We've got Leonis, who is a GBA runner of his game. who picked up this category, not the game, but the category specifically for the tournament. So gonna be interesting to see what he's gonna do. We've got Elbot, who ran during the very first Final Fantasy Relay for this game. He's been de-rusting lately to get that set up as well. So we've got a lot of potential right here. A lot of runners that could definitely give us a show. So, I mean, Cronokirby, Xelnas, to the both of you, we've got two big races coming up here. We've got Leonis versus Elbot. We've got, for Group Tiamat, we've got Boxmeister versus Kebetha for Group Vampire. Any thoughts of what's going to go down in a little bit?
Well, I know Kebetha is like a really good speedrunner. I know her in other games. Like I don't know much about Boxmeister or Kebetha's skill in this game, but I think it's up in the air there. But I have high hopes that Leonis will win in his round, just because he knows this game really, really well, like as a whole, even though it's not this category.
Okay, Chrono?
Kebetha.
A lot going on there, Chrono?
I flipped a coin, so Kebetha. And then Leonis.
Okay, very quick, very clear answer there. So let's see what these runners are going to be pulling off over the course of these next two races that are coming up. Since we're still setting up. I mean, overall, like after this first race, you've got probably one of the toughest matches for the first half of the tournament out of the way. How do you guys feel about your current position in terms of how that first race went, how you've prepared for the tournament, how you're looking forward to the next two races that are still coming up for both of you?
I mean, I'll just keep running the game and practicing the menus. Like for me, it's really just the menus that I'm awful at. So I just want to get better at. So I have save states for all those, and that's how I practice. I haven't been doing full runs because I've got so many other runs that I'm like interested in. So including FF4 Paladin, which is another tournament next month.
Okay, and Chrono?
It's been kind of like riding a bike.
Yeah, actually, same with me. I agree. Like, I haven't done a full run of this game in a month. This was like the first full run of this game in 1 month, and it was like, oh, all right, I remember all of this, except for haste, apparently.
Yeah, I mean, the thing last tourney is like I won all my first matches, and then I started losing to them. So maybe this time it'll be the opposite. Who knows?
So Chrono, I mean, you've been de-rusting this after pretty much a year of being away from the game. How has the de-rust been? How is it? I mean, you mentioned it's like riding a bike, but explain the process a little bit of what you've been through these past few weeks.
I did one race, and then I did another race today. That's it.
Okay, so sounds like you.
I haven't touched the game outside of that.
Right. So it was actually still somewhat of a de-rust race then, I suppose.
Yeah, I still have notes up, which is why I guess I think Leonis remarked on like some old strats or something because I'm using double as old notes.
Okay. So it looks like we're starting to get ready for the next few races. Kebetha is we still need to set up. We've got Leonis versus Elbot. We've got Boxmeister versus Kebetha. So Fiesel, just let me know when everybody is ready, and we'll give these runners a quick countdown.
Anyways, congratulations to Xelnas on the win. Hopefully we'll meet up in brackets sometime.
Yeah, and thank you for the matches. I was like, oh man, I hope that this showboated on changing the menu colors doesn't come and kick him in his ass.
I lost by too much anyways.
Yeah, luckily I was like, oh man, I hope he doesn't lose by like exactly that level of time.
Next time I'll change to white.
Okay, now as we're going, I'm gonna really quickly open up all 4 of the streams, make sure that I have everything ready to go. We'll get that next race set up for you guys. Okay, it looks like 3 of our runners are currently ready to go. I'm still waiting on Kibatha right now. From the looks of it, now, since there are 2 races gonna go on in a little bit, I will actually not be commentating this one by myself. I'll be joined by one of the racers we saw earlier this week, Hate Chill Penguin. So I'm gonna make sure to get him in here as well. We've pretty much got ourselves a really, really big 4-way race between Leonis and Elbot on the one hand, and then Kibatha versus Boxmeister on the other. So, good evening, Hey Chill Penguin.
Hi, how's it going, Kroll?
Thank you for joining me.
Yeah, no problem. I look forward to it.
So it
Sure,
looks
I
like
have
all the
the
streams
streams
are
open.
pretty much set up as we are.
Be making sure I have.
So let's get the remaining race channel up. Looks like we have all 4 of the runners in there.
Yeah, it looks all good on this end.
And okay, it looks like all of the racers are in. From here on, we'll just have to wait a few more seconds, and we'll give them a countdown. Hey, Chill Penguin, since we're still waiting on everybody to get ready for their match, how are you? Are you looking? Or how do you see this race? What's any expectations? Anything?
Well, you know, it's always a toss-up with the RNG. You can never really tell, but if I had to pick someone for the first race, I think it'd be Leonis, and then we'd go with Kabetha for the bottom race there. But that's just guesses again. Hopefully nobody will miss anything too big, and everybody can run the route as planned.
Okay, looks like we're good to go. Almost all of the racers are ready to go, it looks like.
Yep.
Okay, and that is the last one, so the races will begin shortly.